All right, well, it's time now for the press review. Solange Moujon joining us on the set. Hello to you, Solange.
Hi, Will.
Starting off with a little bit of a surprise, what happened last night in France. France's conservative party, Les Républicains, holding its first round of primary voting.
Yeah, and Libération does it again with one of its amazing covers. The left-leaning paper chose to pay tribute to the famous painting American Gothic, but with a French Republican twist. The paper says that the conservative LR party is getting serious about moving farther to the right, and that shows in its choice of rather further right-leaning Éric Ciotti and the somewhat more centrist Valérie Pécresse. Meanwhile, the one expected frontrunner, Xavier Bertrand, well, he's sort of stuck in the house, as you see in the image behind me, as he came in fourth and was excluded. Now, the results and Bertrand's elimination came as a surprise, according to Le Figaro. The conservative paper focuses on how tight the race was and is. Not only were the two candidates neck and neck, the two winners neck and neck, but the duel continues with Ciotti saying that he is the only candidate that can unify the right. And Pécresse, well, she received the backing of fellow primary candidates, and she's saying that is a sign of her popularity and credibility.
And how is Emmanuel Macron's party reacting to these results?
Well, for Le Parisien, Macron's entourage may be biting its nails right about now. The paper says that if Pécresse does become the LR candidate, it could be an additional challenge for Macron. And one minister is quoted in the article as saying, quote, "We preferred Xavier Bertrand because he doesn't have the stature. But Pécresse is more serious and especially more sincere. She's a woman and they are reproaching us for being men," end quote. But not all the papers agree that the LR results could be a bad thing for Macron and for his party. Rather, Courrier International collected foreign correspondents' reactions. John Litchfield wondered, quite the opposite from the Parisien, if there were actually big smiles at the Élysée after the two candidates that were favorites in wider, broader polls, Michel Barnier and Xavier Bertrand, they were excluded. So that may have created smiles at the Élysée. Suppositions aside, the Economist correspondent wrote, quote, "It was a bombshell that confirms to the old rule of thumb that France's right, the LR-UMP, tends to favor its more right-wing candidates for its primaries."
Now to Germany, Solange, where politics are also making some headlines.
Yeah, as we can see on the front page of Der Tagesspiegel, Merkel was honored last night at a traditional military musical ceremony. And just prior to that farewell tribute, she met with federal and state officials. They were ironing out new, stricter COVID measures that include massive restrictions for those that are not vaccinated. Now, this new COVID plan to combat the huge surge that's going on in Germany is, for the Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung, Merkel's last final farewell, but it is a collaborative one. The paper says, as it was made with the incoming Chancellor Olaf Scholz, who backed and helped think up these measures. Now, for Die Welt, the measures are nonetheless a requiem of the past 5,800 days, or a token of remembrance of Merkel's 16 years in power.
All right, well, we move to the United Kingdom now, where a court case is making some headlines.
Yeah, and it is making the front pages because it deals with Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex. As the Bristol Post tells us, she's won her case against the Mail on Sunday after it published a private letter that she wrote to her father. The appeals court ruled that the tabloid, they ruled that publishing it was indeed an invasion of her privacy and not justified for the public good. Now, for the Daily Mail, the ruling is an infringement of free speech. For them, privacy, quote, has gone the way of the powerful, end quote. Now, the paper may appeal again to a higher court this decision, which would, of course, keep the story going, selling more newspapers. But for The Guardian, this is not about free speech, but about the right to privacy. Markle called in a post-victory statement for the UK's tabloid industry to be entirely reshaped. And here The Guardian actually chimes in on this as well, saying that the case raises important important questions about the society that we live in and the kind of stories that papers should or should not publish.
Yeah, and this next story could well fit into that category.
Yeah, this next article is a strange and a bit of a gross one, but it does fit the bill of the fin de canard, or the and finally story. The New York Post tells us that a woman on a Delta flight, well, she created a ruckus when she was caught breastfeeding her hairless cat. Yes, my jaw dropped as well. Now, this led me, of course, to wonder, wait, can humans actually breastfeed cats? Well, actually, the article explains that the cat was not very keen on being breastfed. It was actually squeaking. Neither were fellow passengers or security quite keen on this woman doing that anyway. This is a case in point, I guess, that there are some pretty strange birds, some pretty strange articles out there as well.
All right. Thank you very much, Solange. Solange Bouchon with a look of some stories we should be covering and others we should not. All right. Well, time now for our daily focus report. Today, December 3rd, is International Day of Persons with Disabilities. More than 1 billion people experience disability, and this figure is predicted to rise. But many countries are sadly very poorly equipped, creating what is a sort of medical